Welcome, amazing agents from across the country. Today is June 28th, 2018, and this is Mastermind call number 183. My partners and I are all on the line. We just spent the last 3 days together, and we're still speaking, which is a major accomplishment. We had a great quarterly planning session, had about 500 ideas. We narrowed it down to about a half a dozen things that we are going to implement this quarter to make this a better experience for all of you. And that's all I got to say. Tim, what would you like to share with the group?
So we've been bouncing around our win of the week, and last week I believe it was our friend Mr. Forsyth, and we'll let everybody know that's correct, and there's a consensus of that. So our win of the week last week was Jim, and I think that each week we're having folks hop on and kind of tell us their good successes and good things to know, and we're trying to celebrate those things. So if you've got a great win or something cool that happened as a result of the work that you're doing, please let us know, and that's a great thing. So please keep us posted on your things, and we'll be happy to reward you for it. Our reward for the win of the week right now is $100 worth of value of some kind. We'll either do it based on leads or some discounts on some of the other products that you're using or ancillary services. So that's all I have to say. Let's keep those wins of the weeks coming, and we're getting ready to post them on the website. So you're getting a lot of mileage for your wins.
Awesome. Chad, anything you want to share?
No, I don't have anything this week. Let's get to our queue.
All right, Thomas. Tommy boy, you want to share anything? I know what he's going to say, but do you want to say it, Tom?
Yeah, I just my usual, Jim. Just if anyone needs help, please don't hesitate to reach out to us. support@alltheleads.com. We're here. We track all those things and assign it to the appropriate people to get back to you. So please don't hesitate. That's it.
And I have to follow that up and say, be very specific what you need help with, and the best person will get back to you in a few minutes. Awesome job. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 or 7 people in the queue. First up this week is phone number ending in 2481. You're up first.
Hi, you guys. It's Sarah Hibbard from the Atlanta market.
Hey, Sarah.
I just wanted to share some successes with you. I came on in, I think it was January, either January or early February, and in April I listed my first probate call, and it was somebody who nobody was living in the house anymore, and the administrator lives probably 2 hours away from the property, and it needed a lot of work. But I was shocked at how many people were absolutely just all over it. We had continuous people looking at it and wanting to make offers on it. And we got an offer at the end of April. First of all, the house appraised in its current value, which was bad, at $365, and we listed it. The seller understood that it needed a lot of work, so he listed it at $295, and we refused to go off of that price. So at any rate, all of that to say that finally we are going to be closing it next Friday.
Awesome. Good for you.
In the meantime, I just got another one. I had one of your office folks indicated that they had seen my website. I guess somebody went on the website and wanted me to call them, but I never got that message. And one of your administrators indicated that I needed to call this person, so I did, and I met with them. I met with these folks. When was it? I guess it was Monday. And the situation is that a mother died, and her 33-year-old son, who is bipolar, is living in the house. And so I met with the sister, who, again, lives pretty far away. And when I arrived at the house, I think she was somewhat reluctant and embarrassed to have me see the house. And I said, no worries. I said, I've seen it all. It doesn't matter what it is. sure enough, she said the last time I was here was probably January or December, and she said it was in good condition then, but it wasn't, and there's a lot to be done. This family was hoarders, and so in the meantime, I have contacted Max Sold to have them come through and help to get rid of a lot of the stuff that's in the house. But the biggest thing is they have to find a place for the son. But anyway, I just wanted you guys to know that the whole thing does work. It just takes time, and I'm willing to invest that time and hopefully get a whole lot more after this. But I just wanted you to know what has transpired so far for me.
Thank you so much, Sarah. Couple quick questions. Atlanta's not competitive at all, right? You're not in a competitive market there. you are.
No.
Yeah, I'm just kidding. You're like South Florida. There's a few other realtors in your market. Did you have any competition on these two listings?
Well, this one that I met with on Monday, she indicated to me that she's had a lot of people contact her, but she said your letter was the only one indicating that you would do everything I need for you to do. And she said I decided early on that you were the one that I wanted to call. So and it also helps that when I learned that she was interested in having somebody come and visit her, I left a package of information at her doorstep, and that I'm sure, I know for a fact that is what made her call and say, hey, come on, we got to do this.
Good for you. Good for you. Chad, you had made a recommendation before for a mentally challenged person that was in the house. Obviously, they're going to have the funds to relocate them, but are there any? I mean, is that the issue now? Trying to find a place for the son to go?
We can't do anything until this guy is out of there. He was pretty exasperated that I was out of there. It was very clear to me.
Yeah.
Although I was not intimidated by it, but I think they were very intimidated. And I said, we can't show this house until everything is out of here. And I said,
Gotcha.
It's only going to be very stressful to him if he's in here. And I said, I'm not telling you anything you don't know.
Sure.
They knew.
Sarah, was the deceased his legal guardian, or is he what level is he?
Is he functioning pretty much?
Yeah, I think he's high functioning. He was having a tantrum the day that I was there because evidently the air conditioning had stopped working, and air conditioning has stopped working all over the state, so that's not out of the ordinary. But he was having a tantrum about that. And I mean, here's a 250-pound, 33-year-old guy sitting in the middle of the living room floor, just banging his hands and his legs and, against the floor, having a tantrum.
Sure.
So.
But he doesn't have a legal guardian. He's acting on his own behalf. The sister's not his guardian. Well,
and so she feels as though she is, and so she said my mom and dad have enabled him his whole life, and he's just lived here, and she said I know that it's upon me now to figure out, but he isn't gonna. There's no way that he will go into any kind of an assisted living kind of situation or anything like that. And what they're thinking.
Won't have to. So
they own large property. They own a lot of property, and so they're going to. Right now, what they're talking about is getting a mobile home. And evidently, I guess he's been out looking at mobile homes himself, and so they're going to. I think right now they're thinking about putting him in a mobile home on 20 acres.
Is he getting any benefits from social services? Like, does he get like Social Security disability or anything like that currently?
Evidently, he can get it from her father, who is also deceased.
But I'm saying, as with his mental illness, does he get Social Security benefits right now, or any other benefits?
I didn't have any impression that. I didn't ask that question. That's probably something I need to ask. I did not ask that question.
My experience is my experience is limited to one market with this scenario, but like in Virginia, we have an organization called Blue Ridge Behavioral Healthcare, and they actually receive money directly from HUD as like the housing authority would. So they have a certain amount of money that they can allocate toward housing people with mental illness, like with diagnosis. So in that case, like they will basically give them a HUD voucher, almost like a Section 8 voucher, and they can go find suitable living of their choice. So one of the things you might look into is speaking with a social worker in your county or city, or maybe if he currently lives within a city, then I would talk to a city social worker. If he's out in the county, then talk to a county social worker. But they should be aware of the programs available and which of those healthcare providers would have access to those funds. And so you may be able to do a little bit of the legwork for the sister because her plate's full. It sounds like you've already.
Yeah, she's pretty overwhelmed.
Right, but you can go
Sarah,
the extra mile and.
Yeah. Do you have the property listed already, Sarah? Or you just
No,
they told you
yet.
they were going to? Yeah, because you might want to go ahead and get it listed. I mean, there's nothing, make sure that you've got it, and you could even put a notation, the MLS cannot be shown until further notice, maybe create a little bit of a buzz and demand, and get a buyer in there that the day the house is available to be shown. Would you think that's a good idea, Chad, or not?
I would put an MLS opt-out or future upload date. So create some urgency. So get her to commit to a target date, and then in the listing agreement, seller opts out of MLS. List. You can put the date of the agreement could be today, and the date of the listing start could be July 15th. And then if you think you can get it in MLS on July 15th, then you don't need the opt-out. You just upload it that day. But by setting that target date, you create a real timeline. And that's what they don't have right now. And what they do have is a really uncomfortable situation that's really emotional, and procrastination will prevail. So if you can get her connected to some resources and get her committed to a target date, everyone's going to be better in the long run. Like it will, he'll find suitable housing sooner. She can get the home on the market, get the home cleaned out sooner. And you can get the home on the market and free up the equity to settle the estate so he can have a better long-term solution.
Right. Well, and that's what's motivated her, too. She thinks that her sister who lives in Michigan doesn't need the money, and she doesn't need the money. So they're thinking that all of the money will go to this brother to keep him going for a while.
All right. We just keep getting deeper. So here's another layer of.
We lost you, Chad. You there?
Hello?
Chad? We lost you. Let me hang on a minute. Tim, can you hear me? Well, this is the first, guys. Hang in there for a minute.
Jim,
there's a real
can you hear me?
Now I can. Yeah, there's a real bad buzz on the line. Is no one else hearing that? Is it just me?
No, I'm hearing it too.
Okay.
It went away.
All right. Boy, it went away, whatever you did. Are you still there, Chad?
That's me, Tom.
Yeah, he's in here with me right now, bud.
So I'm in Tim's office.
Okay.
Can you guys hear me okay?
Okay. Now we can hear you. Go ahead, sir.
Okay, what I was going to suggest is, my question was, Sarah, do you know if does the son currently have an income?
No income.
So another added value here, you could coach the sister to meet with a financial advisor or possibly even an estate planning attorney. Some of the options could be, investment vehicles to preserve the wealth, or maybe even a trust where you set up a trust with him as the beneficiary. That way you've got somebody helping him manage that money so it lasts, since that's a big, if the other family members are willing to give their share of the estate to him, let's do what we can to make sure it lasts over time.
Right.
So I would start by talking to a financial, like what I would recommend is a registered investment advisor, or an RIA. These are people that they typically will go the extra mile like you are, and they, even if it's less than $100,000, they'll still help him set up some sort of a vehicle and a plan for the future.
Okay.
Great job, Sarah. Thank you. Thank you. We got a bunch more people in the queue.
Thank you very much.
Oh, thank you. Chad, now I guess you're on speakerphone. Everything I'm saying is coming back double.
We don't hear it, Jim.
Darcy, do you hear it? There's a real bad echo now. Yeah, Darcy said it's echoing bad. Everybody else is hearing it.
I'll dial back in. I don't know.
Okay. Sorry about the technical issues, guys. I would say so far, Sarah, you're definitely in first place for the win of the week. Congratulations. So let's see who else we have in there. And Chad's going to dial right back in. Next up is phone number ending in 1616. You're up next.
Hi, this is Mary, and I'm in the Bay Area, San Francisco Bay Area.
Hey, Mary.
And
thanks for participating.
Absolutely. So yesterday, I decided to use your ISAs to do attorney calls, and they got through the list. There were only 20, because I get leads every 2 weeks instead of once a month. And anyway, we didn't have any success. We got only one attorney that said, well, I'm busy now, but you're welcome to call back, and that's the only thing that we got.
Okay.
What would you suggest I do now?
Okay, so they called, Chad, they called 20 attorneys, and they got one maybe call me back so far.
Yeah. So what we find, and that's it's prospecting. It's not so much different than calling a personal representative. There's no guarantee that people are ever going to do business with us. Sure. Across the board, we get about just under 7% conversion. So if we call 100 attorneys, we can usually get you an appointment with 7 of them. It's no guarantee. Half of our campaigns are worse and half are better. That's the average that we're tracking. So all I can say is, it hopefully next month, it's very likely you'll have a different 20 attorneys. At least some of them will be different. I would just keep track of the ones that you haven't called. So the ones that you didn't, the 19 that you didn't have, think how I want to ask this question. Was there two-way dialogue with the other 19? Were you getting shut down at the gatekeeper, or were they just not interested in speaking with a realtor?
How would I know that?
If you look in the notes of the CRM, you should have some notes in there if there was a conversation.
I haven't done that, so I'll have to look at that. I did get a call from someone today from all the leads, and they suggested that I not call any next month and then go back to calling them the following month.
Well, let me ask you this. Do you have the time to visit with attorneys versus calling?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, you're going to be probably 10 times more successful if you go face-to-face, midweek, mid-afternoon. The reason we make attorney calls is because not everybody will get out of their comfort zone or has the time to go make those visits. But so far, every single person we've ever coached that has gone, if you go to if you attempt to meet with 10 attorneys, I will be shocked if you don't have 2 relationships that start giving you referrals this month. And the idea there is to just, introduce yourself and say, hey, listen, we've got a team of people here locally that specialize in helping families in the probate situation. And as part of that, we pull the records and reach out to the personal representatives. I noticed you guys are doing a lot of business, and I just really wanted to introduce myself and my service. And, I think what I'm doing greatly complements what you guys are doing. Would Attorney Jane Doe have 5 minutes to chat? And typically what happens is Jane Doe will commit to 5 minutes and you're sitting there an hour later. The trifold brochures that we offer are a really good piece. And oftentimes we hear, the attorneys are like, well, do you have a stack of these that you can leave? One of our subscribers, and maybe she's on the call, she even went so far as to go ahead and buy one of the little plastic brochure holders, and she had that in her purse. And he's like, is there anything you could leave? And she sat it on the counter. And now he asked her to come and refill it. So they see a ton of, like, it's getting past the gatekeeper can be difficult, especially on the phone, almost impossible in the mailbox. But in person, it's a lot easier. And once they understand where you're coming from and that you legitimately, like, you're doing the right things for the right reasons, they're typically impressed because they've never seen that from any other real estate professional. And often, I mean, we have a lot of subscribers who it has kind of ballooned out of probate. So now they're getting all the divorce referrals. They're getting paid to testify in court as a real estate expert for that attorney. So it can open a lot of opportunities. But if you have the time, what I would suggest is load those 20 attorneys into, you can export the spreadsheet. You can just copy and paste those addresses from the spreadsheet that you can export over to, there's an app that I use called Route 4Me, so Route the number 4ME. And what that will do is it'll overlay those in Google Maps in the most efficient route and account for traffic and everything else. So it'll say, if I leave my office, visit these 10 and come back to my office, show me the most efficient route, and it'll do it all for you. So that's what I would recommend. Pick out as many as you think you have time for. Load
Would
them in
you
there.
start out with sending a letter first?
I don't think so. I haven't seen a whole lot of return on investment there. I think that the face-to-face is certainly the most effective way to build these relationships.
Okay.
Yeah, with the executor, they usually have a gatekeeper that opens the mail, and it ends up not reaching the attorney very often unless it's something, court business or something official. So I don't know that we've had anybody do well with that. Go ahead.
Speaking of the trifolds, one of the trainings I did, Chad, I think it was the one that you did for the Frank Patrick people, and you had a trifold that I loved, and it was, I call it like the solar system. It had the agent in the center, and then there was bubbles that radiated out from the center, and then they had all the team members, your contractor, your estate auction house, your move manager, your, whatever, all the different. And I don't see that anymore as one of the trifolds that you have on your website, and I particularly like that one. Is there a way to locate that one? Sorry?
I made that in PowerPoint like 5 minutes before our webinar. So
well,
that's one of the things
it the best.
Right. It's one of the things that our design team is working on, both our proven process piece that kind of shows everything and that. So hopefully my goal is to have it done, in the next 2 weeks, to have something that we can, apply it to a postcard, to a trifold, to a web graphic, and have that for you guys.
Well, I'll tell you, I have a degree in interior design, and so I'm very visual, and that one really grabs me. It's simple to understand quickly. The other ones are more of a labor. I mean, I've got to open them, I've got to study them, I've got to look. I mean, I really have to study them. I think you grab the attention with that solar system layout, because instantly people get it. So they'll stay on the page. They'll keep looking.
Yep, I'm actually proofing designs on that this afternoon, and we should have it in the next week. In the next week or so, we should have one much better than that one.
Well, that one was still pretty darn good. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks for participating, Mary. Appreciate it. Next up is phone number ending in 8352. You're up next. Phone number ending in 8352.
Sorry, I don't have any questions.
There you are.
It's nice.
Oh, hi. Okay, no problem. You just wanted to say hello, huh?
This is my first. I'm not doing yet. It's just my first.
All right.
You guys,
well, welcome. Welcome. Thanks for saying hi. Next up is phone number ending in 9944. You're up next. We have another hello, or do we have a question? 342-9944. Are you there? Let me try unmuting you again. All right. Phone number ending in 3016. You're up next.
Hey guys, this is Lee Kaufman. I'm just brand new to the system, so I wanted to ask you a couple questions if I could. I wanted to start with the benefit of the Mastery class, so the Probate Mastery class. Is that has anybody taken that on this call?
I'm sure there probably are. Most people everybody's muted out because we're in Q&A.
Oh, gotcha.
I designed the course and I teach it each month. It's really designed, so session one, we do it in 3 sessions. It's 6 to 7 hours of content, depending on how interactive the group is. And on day 1, we really focus on kind of showing you why there's an opportunity in this market and how you can provide value to really earn your market share. And day number 2, we're gonna pull the whole thing apart and look at it, in kind of an expanded view. What could you potentially do in this service? So both as a realtor and investor, and also how to build your team and what value each of those people can bring to, broaden your scope of service. And we work that down into a specific strategy for your business, not what we say you should do, but what you commit to doing. And then the 3rd day is how do we actually apply that? How do we get on the phones? How do we handle the listing appointments? And I'll show you a lot of tricks that we pull apart the initial conversation, like layer by layer. And I'll show you exactly what information you need and in what order it's most efficient and easiest to get. And then all the tricks that we've, learned to make people feel comfortable and build rapport really quickly. And then as kind of a bonus, I'll show you my entire listing appointment from the time I hang up the phone until I put the listing in MLS, just so you can kind of get some ideas from, and it's very casual, but it's very effective. So that's kind of, and if you go to education and training, there's a course outline that'll show you, the specific bullet points. But the idea is not to make you a probate attorney. The idea is to make you a service expert. So the idea is for you to understand the overall need in the community, and then learn how to fill that need, and then learn how to talk to these people. So it's more of, it's more service training than it is legal training. And some people expect that they're gonna learn everything there is about the legality of probate. That's not really useful. This is more focusing on the people and the situation and how you can bring value as a professional. That's really what Mastery's for.
Okay, awesome. And with that, you get a certification. So is there a spot, like when we go through and get the website and have that built as well, do you see a benefit of putting that certification to drive traffic to the website so it just gives more validation?
Sure. And I wouldn't say it really drives traffic there, but it definitely lends credibility to you, and, the traffic that's already there is going to see that. I think most everybody who does Mastery we give you a stamp sealed certificate for the course. And a lot of people will frame the original and put it in their office, and they'll make a copy and laminate that and make it part of their listing package. Okay.
Well, we started getting the leads in, so I was trying to figure out the best practice. Should I go ahead and set up the mailing system? I read or I listened in the training that it's best practice to send out the letters, and then on day 1 or after day 1 of them receiving the letters, or when they should receive them, that's when you make your phone calls. Is that what you guys recommend?
Yep. So you definitely want to get your mail set up, and you can do that literally in an hour. You can have your whole campaign set up and ready to go, and even on autopilot. So find a letter that works for you, customize it to where it actually is, kind of matches your business and your personality. Get that uploaded, order your marketing campaign, and either order the calls from us or set them in your calendar so you'll get them made. Typically, first class mail we're typically going to fulfill within 2 days. It's going to be there within the next 3 business days. And so, if you were to, like, my schedule was always order mail on Thursday and make calls on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday.
Okay. Awesome. And then, go ahead.
I was going to ask you, have you watched the fast track videos yet? The initial videos you received?
I went through all 3 of those.
Good. Just to clarify, that's really what you need to get started. We really look at our numbers and we analyze data, because we are a data and a service company, and people that take the Mastery course are about 7 times more likely to still be with us a year later. So it's you don't need to take that to get started, but we do recommend that you take it as soon as possible. It'll just give you that extra level of confidence, and and once you take it, by the way, you can take it as many times as you want. It's like you can come back every month if you like, and a lot of people do. They'll take it over and over again to kind of. Chad's been doing it now for 3 years, and everyone gets a little better than the last because they build on each other. So take it as quick as you can, but don't wait to do your mail or make your calls until you're done with the course. You should get enough out of the fast track videos to get you started.
Absolutely. What do you guys? What's a good percentage as far as rate of return on the mail that you're sending out for getting inbound phone calls?
So your inbound is, 2% is usually a phenomenal, response rate to direct mail. What we find is more common is what Mary shared with us. So the reason we recommend you send a letter and follow with a phone call, even in Atlanta, Georgia, where they're getting 50 postcards from investors, when Mary picked up the phone, Sarah, I think was the first caller. But when Sarah picked up the phone and spoke to that person, that's the only letter that stood out to her. And she immediately knew who she was talking to, and she had rapport. So that's kind of the point. It's not that if you send out 100 letters, you're going to get 100 phone calls. It's just not how the world works. If you leave 100 voicemails, you might get one call back, right? But the idea is to send the letter, get their attention, and then the fortune's in the follow-up. You follow with a phone call. And if they're not ready, then they might not answer your call either. And that's why we space the campaign over 90 days, because there's so many variables, a lot of them emotional, that we never know when these people are going to actually admit or realize that they need help. So look at it on a very minimum as a 90-day campaign, and don't really judge it until you've gotten to that point. We find I was surprised. I started to get come list me calls probably 6 months in from some of my first lists, and then that continued, and I've gotten listings like literal come list me calls. They had checked they got my letter, they had been to my website, they had checked out my Zillow, Trulia, LinkedIn, Facebook. They knew everything about me. They just hadn't called me yet. And 2 years later, something happened at breakfast. She called, and we had the home sold in a week. So, just stick with it. But it's important that you do make the phone call behind the letters, because people aren't always going to respond to mail, even though it had some value to them.
Sure. All right. Well, that was all the questions I had. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you very much. Well, we have last week's winner is up next. Are you going for 2 in a row, Jim?
No, I had to come on here and apologize first to Tim, because I think last week I called him Tom several times.
That's okay. He doesn't mind.
I was hurt, Jim. I was really hurt.
Yeah. Well,
his wife gets his name wrong a lot of times. That's not a problem. He doesn't mind.
As long as he doesn't call a wrong name at the wrong time, he'll be okay.
Okay. Yes. Go ahead, Jim. What can we do for you?
Just wanted to thank you for that, and everything is still going great. Just sitting here listening to the calls made me remember someone I hadn't called, so I just made a note to call another person. But just thank everybody for that, and everybody keep listening.
All right, sir. We appreciate it. Yeah. Next up is phone number ending in 6166. You're up next.
My name is George. I'm from North Carolina, and I've actually
Hey, George.
I've actually got 3 quick questions. I'm a former estate planning attorney, I'm a former probate and estate planning attorney. And my first question is, what specific information is provided in the leads?
We'll give you everything that the court will offer in most cases. So, but most important, like we have, it's reported differently across 3,000 counties. So for data normalization purposes, we just give you the common fields. So all of the name, first name, last name, address for the personal representative, which is the blanket term that we use for administrator, executor, public administrator. We just use PR. So we're going to give you all the contact information for them, including phone numbers, which is not on the public record. That's something that we add, and there we find our numbers are tracking about 95% accuracy. We'll give you the full information, so firm name, attorney name, bar number, phone number. Sometimes in some markets we have the attorney actually records their email address, and then obviously their office address and all their contact info. And then we also give you the court information, so the docket number, the date of filing, date of death, deceased last known address. So probably everything you're looking for would be included in our date.
If the will is filed with the court, is that reviewed and information provided with the data?
If there was a will, if it was testate?
Yes.
No, we don't have that as one of our common fields.
Okay. My second question is, if the executor is represented by attorney, do you contact the executor, or do you have to deal with the attorney?
So what we teach is kind of a two-pronged approach. So the first outreach should be to the executor, because they're the decision maker and the most likely one to engage with you. But however, we teach, just like you've heard on this call, we teach our folks to get out and build a referral network out of, with the probate attorneys, with nursing home employees, and many other people from the community. So it's kind of short-term, long-term. Like, you can have the fastest success dealing directly with the administrators, but over the long run, like for the marathon approach, the attorneys can feed you for a lifetime once you've impressed them once.
Well, my third and last question is, as a real estate agent, do we have an obligation in dealing with the executor to tell them that they're already working with a real estate agent to disregard the solicitation?
And according to the NAR Code of Ethics, you do. In the footer of each of my letters, I would put an asterisk. So I had my compliance information, which was brokerage name, address, and phone number, and some states require your license number. Virginia doesn't. And then below that, I would put an asterisk. Ethics are of utmost importance to us. If you have an agency agreement with another real estate professional, please disregard this letter, or something along those lines. And I just put it in like a light gray, so it didn't pop out on the page, but it was there to cover my assets.
Okay. Thank you.
All right, George. Thank you.
I want to. Are you still on the line, George?
Yes, I'm still on the line.
So how long were you a practicing attorney, and was that what percentage of your practice was from probate versus estate planning?
Well, I was an attorney for 27 years, and most of my work was estate planning. I did a small portion of probate work. We had a contract paralegal that did the nitty-gritty of the probate work, but I oversaw that. I know enough to make me dangerous with probate work. What
was the biggest need that you saw from the family that you either couldn't, or like that your office couldn't handle for them, but it would have been a godsend if you could have?
Say that again, please.
What in the 27 years, what would you say was the biggest need that the families had that you couldn't meet as their attorney? Like getting houses cleaned out, getting houses sold, like dealing with
getting the houses cleaned out and cleaned out. That was a tremendous benefit, because on many a Saturday afternoon, I was sitting at a client's house, helping distribute all the assets to the appropriate family members, charging them, $250, $300 an hour, and being able to provide, the name of a company to do that to an executor, would be just a godsend to them. They just saved thousands of dollars.
If we went back in time and you had an ambitious real estate agent that came in and offered a full suite of solutions, like basically anything that client could possibly encounter that was a non-legal need. And they said, we can handle that for you. Would you see value in that?
Absolutely.
That's what we want everybody to do. So
yeah.
What we find is most attorneys are very hesitant to have a real estate agent that they refer because they've had a bad experience, and that's kind of set their expectation. But once our folks walk in and they realize, holy crap, they're really focusing on the community first. It's that provide value first mindset that we preach. The attorneys are just blown away. So
most probate attorneys are incredibly busy, and they don't have time to deal with the things that we can assist them on as real estate agents. And it's just more than just helping list the house and sell it.
Excellent. Thank you so much, George.
Thank you.
We may be in touch with you in the future. Please keep coming on these calls. We appreciate it, and thanks for participating.
Thank you. I'm in the process of joining this week, so.
Oh, excellent. Well, guess who will be calling you then?
Okay.
Me. I'll get with you tomorrow. I'll give you a call. Thank you, sir.
Super.
All right. Take care. Next up is phone number ending in 1557. You're up next.
Hey, Jim and Chad. How are you guys? It's Ken McFarland from the northern New Jersey area.
Hey, Ken. Great. How you?
Doing well. So I'm calling today because I think I had asked this question a couple months ago, or maybe 2 months ago, on a call having to do with visiting attorneys. So far in what you've seen with the network, as far as the process of going to visit attorneys, because Chad's been talking a lot about visiting attorneys, going to actually physically visit them. What have you found to be the most successful process, for going after attorneys? Because typically what I do is I'll call the lead on whatever numbers are given. If they don't respond to any of the calls after at least one attempt, sometimes two, but to be honest, usually just one, then I'll reach out to the attorney maybe I'll say like in a few weeks later, usually 3 to 4 weeks. And if I don't get them, then what I've started doing is what Chad told me to do in the last time I asked this, was a couple months back, was to visit them. So I visited some attorneys and gave them some information. Some of it was successful, some of it wasn't. But what's the best process for going after attorneys? Because you have the first step is to get in front of them, right? But what have you found? What do you recommend as far as after that step, as far as meeting them?
You need a trunk full of 12-year-old scotch and hand those out. That was a joke. Taking a bottle of scotch.
Yeah, no, I hear you.
So here's an idea that I'll share with you, and I actually looked at this morning. I've been trying to track an attorney down here in Brevard. One single attorney has 10 cases just this month, and she has about 10 per month. So think of the load that her office has. There's one other attorney in the office, but he spends most of his time doing seminars and trying to get the estate planning business. And they obviously have paralegals, but they are incredibly busy people, just like George said. One of the things you can do to kind of get their attention, because they're so busy, they're probably just taking they've set up a referral network and they're getting the deals however they get, the cases however they get them. If you look at your list, in a lot of markets, you're going to find 10 to 20% of the cases each month will not have an attorney attached to them yet. And that's known as pro se, meaning that the family declined the assistance of attorney, they're going out as a loan. And chances are, before this is over, they will have an attorney because they don't know what they don't know just yet. So if you approach an attorney and say, listen, my team has already gone to the courthouse, I sent a researcher, we've got all this data, I just wanted to drop by and give you this list of 20 people this month that don't have an attorney because I think it's a great marketing list for you. And hopefully that will segue into the conversation that you're looking for. So lead with value. And the other thing that I didn't get to ask George when he was on, you know, I've suggested this on a number of these calls. If you have past clients, have you helped them set up estate plans after you did business with them? So you helped them manage the largest asset of their life, chances are, but have you helped them set up a long-term plan to protect that wealth that you helped them generate?
Right. Okay.
So if you can get a list of past clients and you maybe get their, depending on your relationship with them, get their permission, say, hey, listen, I've decided to hold my customer service, like hold myself to a higher standard of customer service. One of the things I never did for you is after we shook hands and closed, I mean, I say hi and I send a fruit basket, but I think I should have, I really have challenged myself to find what I can do for my clients. And I really would like to at least give you the opportunity to set up a long-term plan. So long-term care, insurance, estate plan, possibly even a trust. And it's completely private. I won't be part of the meetings, but I will arrange it with my estate planning partner. Would it be okay if I have him or her give you a call? The ones that say yes go into your A list. When you walk into the attorney's office with that A list, you're going to get their attention because you heard what George said. He did probate, but the heart of his business was estate planning. And most attorneys are doing both things. And maybe they're set up where they have the bandwidth to manage the equal amount of both. But if you can find a way to lead with value, so you're not going into an attorney's office asking for anything. You're going in saying, hey, I'm looking for a partner I can trust because I've got these 5, 10, 15 A referrals that are ready to meet with an estate planner. Would you like to sit down and talk? And you're naturally going to segue into, well, tell me what you do. Well, I'm a real estate agent, but one of the most important things that I've done this year is I've actually built a team of people to help families in probate, and that's how I got your name. And then show them how you can complement their business. But if you're having trouble connecting and getting them to slow down and meet with you, find a reason, find some value that will slow them down and have them sit down, even for 5 minutes, and you'll turn it into a much longer conversation and a relationship.
I can't imagine a situation where you walk in with a list of 15 or 20 referrals that you won't get a face-to-face meeting with the attorney. If you get a gatekeeper, don't give her the list. Say, I've got 15 referrals for Attorney Johnson, and I'd like to give them to him personally. I think you'll probably get past the gatekeeper that way. I can't imagine anybody not being willing to meet with you.
Right. Okay. And then with the
Make
pro
sense?
se, yeah, absolutely.
Yep.
No, sometimes we think way too much about ourselves and the processes and all the information, but we forget that we have to build relationships and really, really, really work at them hard. So thank you for the perspective on that. And then the last question about the pro se, you're saying basically with the pro se that, okay, fine, 10, 20% of them don't have an attorney. You guys have gotten the information. So basically so just so I understand, any lead that you guys send us that doesn't have an attorney listed, essentially, unless, and obviously we don't know if they've called an attorney to set an appointment, but I mean, it's fair to say that when we talk to these people that they may actually need an attorney, that they're automatically in the pro se status. So, if they don't need to sell their house, they may need an attorney. So pretty much most of these leads that don't have attorneys already, unless they've reached out to someone that's, not put in the notes or lead section, they're automatically pro ses. Is that kind of what I'm getting?
So they have intentionally opted out at the time of filing. Now, they may have already freaked out and called 10 attorneys and chosen one.
Yeah.
Or they may just be in probate quicksand and they still don't know what they don't know. But this is not a simple process for most people. It's usually a one-time thing. Like most administrators, actually, I think all administrators that I've worked with, it was their first trip through. So they had a lot to learn. And in Virginia, like in my part of Virginia anyways, nobody uses attorneys. I've actually never had one. So they were working, if they had questions, they were coming to the probate clerk. And then but anyways, if they don't have the attorney, it's probably because they thought, well, we don't need an attorney. We can do this. It seems simple enough. But everything takes a little longer than you expect, and you get wrapped up in the legalities. It's just like a for sale by owner. They think, oh hell, this is easy. It's just I'll put it on Zillow and buyers will show up and then we'll close 30 days later. How hard can it be? And then they realize the truth. And then they realize the liability that can come with that. And then it makes it easy to list those properties. So that can sometimes be the same exact mindset of, yeah, hell, this is easy. And then they get into up to their neck and they're like, oh crap, we need a rope. Someone throw us the life ring, right? So there are attorneys who prospect those lists, but I don't think it's common practice for most attorneys to take the time to go do that. Like the county that I looked at this morning, it was 12% of the list, so it represented about 20 people here in Brevard County that didn't have an attorney that just initiated the probate process. So even if that attorney can kind of follow what we preach to you guys, like the attorney, if they can reach out to the administrator with value, then there's a damn good chance they're going to earn their business. If they can help educate them on what they're about to get themselves into, and then they say, oh, I guess we do need an attorney. Well, they've got one on the phone. Who do you think they're going to pick?
Right. Okay.
All right, sir. Does that help?
Yep. Very good. Thank you very much.
All right. Great questions. Thank you. We got 4 more in the queue. Next up is phone number ending in 6642. You're up next.
Hi, this is JP from Seattle.
Hey, JP. Thanks for participating.
Hi. I had, first of all, that was really good information on that last question about providing value. I had been listening to a couple of your guys' webinars where you talked about building a team and offering value. And I guess my question comes from the perspective of trying to wholesale properties. I'm not a realtor. And I guess, let's say, for example, I have an heir who lives out of state, who's a busy guy, and I know with the professional team I've built that I can get the property spruced up and sold at market value by referring it to a realtor. But I also gauge that he's very motivated because he's a busy guy and would probably be very open to a cash offer. So as an investor, I'm obviously very interested in wholesaling that property, but I guess I'm asking, how do I walk that line of giving an heir like that the best advice, but at the same time not passing up on business for me as well?
So this is my personal business values, I guess. For me, transparency is key. So I have a net sheet that I actually show them like 3 different scenarios: cash, as is sale, or retail sale. And in the conversation, I'll establish a target date and a willingness to make repairs or not. And dependent on those 2 factors, they pretty much will self-select into that. The reason I use the net sheet is the great visual tool, because they can look at the right-hand column and see a big, exciting number. But if they're in a hurry and they're not willing to take the risk and the time for construction, then that one goes away. So then we're left with as is or cash. So is money or time more important at this point? Like if you're completely unwilling to do repairs or negotiate with buyers, then we have to go with an as-is sale. And that, again, has to come at a discount. If you're completely unwilling to wait for me to get it on MLS and negotiate and, find a buyer, then I'll write you a check here today. But again, we're talking about another level of discount. So they'll self-select in, and the more transparent you are, the more trust you build. And I mean, I have actually told people, like, I think you're crazy for selling this to me because I can sell it in a week or so for 30% more. And they're just done. He's like, I don't want it. It's a hoarder house. I'm not cleaning that damn thing out. If a buyer asks me to, just write me a check. And that's what I've found to be most effective for me, is just show your cards and show them that you really are putting their best interest first, and you can do whatever. It's really their choice. And that's been the most effective method for me.
And we do have a number of very successful wholesalers. You know, I always say this program works equally well for realtors and investors. It also works for wholesalers. You know, there are people that just don't want to hassle. You know, you're not going to do as many deals as a realtor, but you know, you're going to get in and out quicker. And you know, it can be a very profitable business if you understand that. You know, for a wholesaler, you know, maybe, Chad, I don't even know what's realistic. You know, maybe 1 out of 100, 1 out of 50, 1 out of 30 people you talk to is going to be a candidate. But when you get that person, you know, it's a win for you. It's a win for them. So,
Jim, I think you and I have talked about this. I don't think I've ever bought a house at a deep, deep discount where they gave a damn what they could sell it for on MLS. They didn't want to talk to a realtor. They didn't even want to discuss a listing agreement or what that looked like. And there's been times where I've tried to get them. I'm like, no, let's do this. And so a wholesale client is a wholesale client, and a listing client is usually not a wholesale client. So the ones that whatever's driving that motivation that they're willing to sell at a 30 or 40% discount, you know, the transparency won't hurt you because they're not going to list the house anyways. A friend of mine, you know, he's wholesaling 160 houses a year in Roanoke, Virginia. There's 100,000 people. And I would say 98% of the houses he buys, he's the only person they call. They don't call a realtor. And that's one of the options that he offers too. And nobody's interested. When they have that level of motivation, typically they've procrastinated or made bad decisions, you know, long enough. Emotionally they're just spent and they're ready to move on.
Okay. Makes sense.
All right, sir. Please come back and tell us your success stories. Did you have a follow-up question?
Yeah, I had a couple quick ones.
Sure.
I heard a comment in one of the webinars that you talked about that joining your guys' program, there's I might have misheard this, but there was an opportunity to split the commissions with realtors with a referral or something along those lines.
Well, so we train everybody. Like every investor should have a realtor or more than one on their team, and every realtor should have multiple investors. Now, how you guys pay each other, I mean, you can't receive a commission legally. So if you guys want to come up with a co-marketing agreement where they pay a marketing fee or they pay, you know, they pay for your leads and you give them the referrals, I mean, 90% of these are going to end up being listings versus deep discounted wholesale deals. So if you can get the realtor to pay for the leads and the marketing, or maybe they pay for the leads, you pay for the marketing, and you give them an exclusive on the referrals, then maybe that's enough value for the relationship. They could also pay marketing fees toward other things that you're doing, other campaigns. They could pay for your websites, your CRMs. You know, depending on how much business you're giving them, maybe they should buy you a new pickup truck. But it's really just between you and them. Just make sure it's not coming to you as a commission. It needs to come to you as like a co-marketing fee.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. And then lastly, this is probably in your guys' training, but I just haven't heard this, but you know, if I am referring business to a realtor and my goal is to provide value and make sure the process is as stress-free as possible, am I staying involved in that process, or what? I guess, because I've heard you say that attorneys have gotten burned by realtors in the past. I guess my question is, how did they get burned, and how do I make sure I'm not going to refer them to an agent who's going to burn them again?
Don't pick a typical agent. Pick one that's willing to raise the bar and understand the conversation. Understand that you're not trying to find someone to just list and sell property. You're looking for someone that matches your level of empathy and customer service. And they understand that they're one spoke in a wheel and that you're the hub. You're in control of the deal or the overall situation if you want to be. So if you're pulling in, I mean, if you found the right realtor, they will just work with your team and all the other spokes. So they can pull in the estate sale company, the clean out crews, the estate planning attorneys, and there's really no way for you to monetize that deal. So if you've got the right partner, you could hand it off, and they're the ones that are going to get the direct monetization. So they can at that point they can kind of orchestrate your, the service and deploy your team. So that would be the best case scenario. You find an agent who will jump in and go through our training with you, and make sure you guys are aligned and they understand what you're trying to accomplish, and then you can trustfully hand that off to them and know that they'll get the same service that they would have if they were working with you. It really,
and we have, Yeah, I just wanted to add also, we got 3 more in the queue. I don't want to rush it, but I wanted to also add, make sure it's a reciprocal agreement. A percentage of the people that list, 3-4 months later, if it doesn't sell, they're going to get more motivated. Make sure if that person you're referring, their situation changes, they refer it back to you. And make sure that realtor, too, in the course of his business, if he lists a property that's a good investor deal, whether it came for you or not, make sure, if they're your realtor, then you should be their investor. Make sure it's a reciprocal agreement and you send business both ways.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. Okay. Thanks, guys.
All right. Thank you very much. We got 3 more in the queue. We are going to go over today, over our hour, and we will not leave a question unanswered or a caller unheard. Next up is phone number ending in 3908. You're up next.
Hey, guys. It's Sam from Richmond. How are you?
Hey, Sam. Excellent. Our favorite ISA in the whole world.
Yes, thank you. I appreciate that. Don't tell your other ISAs that you say that. No.
Well, no. If you don't tell them, I won't.
I just wanted to share a quick story that happened to us this week that I thought was really cool. It was a success story for us. So I had a woman call me and left me a voicemail, and I couldn't really understand it. I got her last name, and she said, my friend referred you. Can you call me back? I need some help with the situation. So I called her back, I kind of assuming it was probate, but not really. And she said, I'm the administrator of an estate. I have no idea what I'm doing. There's this house that needs all this stuff cleaned out. I just don't know. And my friend said that you took care of her and helped her out completely. So, can you help me? What can you do? So I set her up with an estate sale company. I set her up with our charity partner who can do clean out. I set her up with a cleaning company. I gave her, all this other stuff. I set my agent an appointment today to go and talk to her about the real estate because she doesn't want to sell. There's debts on the thing, all this different stuff. So at the end, I said, if you don't mind me asking, who referred you? What was the name of your friend? And she said, oh, it's Cheryl. This woman who referred her, I worked with, and I also helped her get her sister's estate all cleaned out, but we ended up not doing a transaction together. She decided that her cousin was going to live in the house, and they weren't going to sell it and backed out. So we never actually did a transaction together. I just hooked her up with all of the people on our team, and we did some work on the house. We got it cleaned out for her. We did all of that. But her and I never actually, my company and her company never did a transaction together. And she still referred me to her friend because of all the stuff that we were able to do that wasn't real estate related. And
wow, that's great.
And how much revenue, what's the gross commission on this transaction, do you think?
It's not a great house. It's probably worth, if we fixed it up, it'd probably be worth, $100,000. So maybe 6,000.
All right. So you got
maybe
$6,000.
3,000.
And how much time if you combine how much time did you spend on that first administrator that you didn't do business with?
Probably a month.
But if you were to break apart the time it took you to make the phone calls and orchestrate what you did, was it a half an hour work, an hour work?
Yeah, probably. Maybe 3 hours, maybe. Yeah.
Okay. So you're making about $2,000 an hour for the value you're providing there.
Right.
But you didn't see the direct path of monetization, right?
Right.
So Sam is one of our best examples of that core, our number one core value, mine personally and professionally, is provide value first. And thank you for sharing the story, because I wholeheartedly believe if you take the time, if you take 3 hours out of your career to just do the right thing and help somebody who's overwhelmed, it will always come back to you in multiples. And in this case, that little listing that Sam's talking about the value, it's coming back to her in the form of $2,000 an hour if you bring it down to her effort. So is it worth $2,000 an hour to care about somebody and helping them and stay on the phone for an extra 30 seconds or a minute or 40 minutes? It usually is. It always has been for me. So
great story, Sam. Thank you. Yeah,
You're
awesome.
welcome.
Two more in the queue. Next up is easy phone number ending in 4444.
Hi, that's me. This is Louise Barber. I'm in Westchester, New York.
Great phone number, Louise.
I know, it's easy to remember, right?
Absolutely.
Okay, I have one really quick question for you, then I have another question that's kind of my real question. But
sure.
I did take the Mastery class a while back, and I was wondering how soon you send those certificates out, because I think I should have gotten mine by now. I've been keeping an eye on the mail.
Were you in the June class?
I'm trying, no. No, I think it was May.
The May certificates, I know were sent. The Junes, I think, have been. I think they may have gone this week. Send me an email, Chad. You can email Chad at all the leads, and I'll double check and get back to you.
Chad at all the leads. Okay, and actually, one of the things I was interested in was already covered by the gentleman from Northern New Jersey in regards to attorneys. Because I was wondering myself why there were so many blank attorneys on the lead information. And while you guys were talking, I went and I looked at this month's mailing, and I saw that out of 172 leads that I got, 63 did not have attorneys. So does that mean there are 63 people that opted out of using a probate attorney and they're looking to do it themselves or use a different attorney than one that might have been assigned to them? What exactly does that mean? Because if you're talking about going to attorneys with value, in that you might be making a connection with them and saying that people don't have attorneys, what are you really able to offer the attorneys? Are they really people that need the guidance? Would attorneys reach out to them, or can you take it
most
from
likely.
there if you see where I'm going?
Yeah. So it's most likely, exactly what we talked about earlier in this call. I mean, they have, they probably thought, this is no big deal. We're going to deal with this on our own. And at some point, maybe this week, maybe next month, they'll probably realize that they bit off more than they can chew. So what you can do is turn that into a marketing list. You can get it down into a spreadsheet and, open the door with that and say, listen, we've already done the work and pulled this data. There seems to be 63 people here in the community that probably could benefit from a call from a qualified attorney. And I'm just looking to partner with attorneys that, I can provide value this way, but I really want to partner with attorneys who understand what it is we do, and hopefully we can provide value to your business in more ways than just bringing you a marketing list. And that, it's just a way to open the conversation. But I would have it in, a spreadsheet that you can email to them, and potentially, even just delete some columns so you can have something in hand, like a printed version.
Yeah.
It's, that big data file is not formatted for print. But what you could do
I would
is
download it and put it into something else. So you can get that
but still take part of it. Like, even if you have to delete columns all the way down to, PR, first name, last name, and then the blank attorneys, just to show them that, hey, this is real. Like, give them something tangible. It might not be usable, but it's tangible for that for the conversation. And then you email it to them immediately following the appointment.
Okay.
And just a thought: if you've got 63 of them, maybe you want to take 6 lists of 10 or 15. Spread them around multiple attorneys. It's up to you. I mean, unless you establish a really strong relationship and you provide the value, make it reciprocal. If you think you got a good one, maybe give them more. But yeah, you may want to spread it around a little bit. Okay. I guess it wouldn't be bad to give a couple attorneys the same list, but it'd probably be more value if they were exclusive to them. Either way.
Just sit there and just dial these, people.
Yeah, most of them won't. Most of them won't. So
I guess that
you're right. Yeah, you're right. Most of them are not used. Most of them are used to prospecting. You're right. It's more of a credibility tool than anything.
And
but
the other thing is
yeah.
just to mention that when I, sorry, I'm from New York, so I interrupt people.
No, go ahead.
Terrible Eastern habit. So a few times I've asked people, when I could work it into the conversation, it looks like, maybe you're not using a probate attorney. Do you have someone to help? Because we do have someone that our office can recommend at this point. And a lot of them say, no, we do have one, and they won't elaborate, or they say, we have a family of a friend, friend of the family or something like that we're using. But I haven't asked enough people to really know, are they saying, no, we're not using one at all? But do you think in general it's just people decide we can do it ourselves, or it's such a small deal that we don't need somebody, and then they find out later they do?
Did you get that, Chad?
I did not. I was actually screwing with you on Slack.
Oh, dear.
I apologize.
All right. Just restate the last sentence, if you would, please.
Trying to remember it. Well, I guess what I just was saying, I hadn't sampled enough people to have a feel for, in general, were they just thinking they couldn't use one or didn't need to use one?
Oh, okay. Yeah,
but that's usually what you find. They just think it's not all that necessary, so they'll handle it themselves, or
it's hard to pattern. I mean, because we don't know exactly, by looking at the data available, we don't exactly know what they own yet. So we don't know if it's, the one thing we do know, it's not by definition a small estate, or they wouldn't have filed probate to begin with. So the two most common exemptions for probate to not have to go through probate are having a trust or having a small estate. Typically that's below $100,000.
Right.
So we know that they're, most likely the collective assets are worth more than $100,000. So it's and that may seem like a tiny number to you. Some people on the call would be, that's our market median. So
yeah, I was going to say in New York that's not necessarily.
Yeah. So I would say that, and when we started this, we didn't know a whole lot about probate either. I didn't know anything when I first started going to the courthouse. You learn a ton over time. Like as you dive into this, you'll start to see those patterns in your market, and you'll know, you'll say, okay, so the attorneys that I gave the pro se list to gave me this many referrals, and these referrals were X, Y, and Z. So you'll start to see, commonalities. It's really hard to tell. I mean, you could look at it, the other side of the coin could be that maybe their ego said they didn't need an attorney because they have all kinds of money, and it could be $1 million house, and they're like, I don't need help from an attorney. I got this. I sold my own house. I can do this. And maybe it's $1 million asset, and when they get deep into it and realize, oh crap, I'm in over my head, then it could be just the other end of the spectrum. Right? It's really hard to say. And what we usually tell everybody is, in any instance, is focus on the people and the situation first, and then you'll put the story together really quick.
Okay.
And over time, you may or may not see patterns. Like the people who are pro se, they may end up being the best clients ever because they put themselves in an even more stressful situation, so they might need help even more than the people who have an attorney helping them.
Yeah, I was just surprised. I thought 63 out of 172 in this mailing was it appeared to be higher than the other mailings I've gotten. There's always a handful, but this is really a large number. I was
about a third. Yeah, it's a little bit on the high side. Yeah.
Yeah,
maybe is that the only list you've gotten so far?
Pardon?
Is that the only list you've gotten so far?
No, we've been getting the list since January, but up until I was brought in after they'd put out a few mailings, so I played some catch up with the older mailings. So I haven't really spent a lot of time analyzing a lot of ones that went before, but yeah. So we've done January through June this year, the mailings. I'm in the middle of calling some of the June.
I would encourage you to go back to January and just look at, how is this month an outlier, or is it just common in your market for only 70% of people to choose an attorney? Like where I am in Virginia.
That's hard to believe in New York. New York attorneys do everything. They're really in every part of our business here.
All right. Well, thank you very much. I don't mean to cut you off. We're running way late today.
Fine. Yeah, thanks.
Thank you so much for participating. We have one more person in the queue, and then we'll wrap it up. Last up for the week is phone number ending in 9091. You're up last.
Okay, thank you. Yes, the last caller pretty much, you all answered that question regarding the pro se and the caller before, because I noticed on my list on the back, there are quite a few that do not have attorneys, and I wanted to give that list. So you pretty much answered that, but one question I do have is, when you list the home, and I was trying to remember from my notes from Mastery class that the PR cannot sign the listing agreement until the initial probate hearing and the court has appointed the PR. Is that correct?
That's right.
And that takes about 2 months?
It really varies. I mean, in my market, it probably takes a week. And some areas of California, it seems to be taking 2 to 3 months. So it really depends on the load that's on the court system. It's usually pretty quick, for the initial hearing. It's usually within a month, but there are markets where it does take longer.
Chad, let me ask a devil's advocate question. Is it that they can't sign it, or is it just it doesn't become valid until the court authorizes it?
No,
you follow me?
They don't have the authority to sign at that time. So I guess you would have to ask an attorney in that state whether he considered it, a contract attorney, if he considered it valid. It certainly wouldn't be valid at the time of signing. Now, when, if they signed it on June 1st and they didn't have authority, and June 15th they do have authority, I don't know if that's retroactive to contracts that were signed. I think only a contract attorney should rule on that.
Yeah, I always err on the side of, get the listing signed, and, if you can, because it's a commitment from the homeowner, but that is a good question to ask a local attorney.
Here's what I've recommended in the past. So that to me is a gray area, and somewhere I just wasn't willing to go. What I would recommend is sit down with your broker and come up with some sort of letter of intent. So it's not a legal agreement. It's basically just saying, I intend to list on contingent on this, or I intend to list when these conditions are met. And the whole purpose of that is, when people make an emotional connection to the commitment. So if you sign a letter of intent, it doesn't really have any legal standing. Like, you don't have leverage, you don't have a contract. However, they have made a commitment to you, and they remember signing that piece of paper. And that if someone else comes in and starts talking to them and trying to get it, they're going to remember that. And they're probably not going to, chances are their legal knowledge is not going to be greater than yours. That they're going to consider the contract in their mind, even though it's technically not. So if your broker is comfortable with that, a letter of intent might be the right thing to get signed on the initial appointment. And then wait until as soon as they're appointed and get the articles, then you can sign the listing agreement in their name.
Okay. All right.
Awesome, guys.
The other thing, so I'll say this too, the other thing that you could potentially do, and you need to speak to your broker and maybe even a probate attorney about this. I've seen agents before list as the estate of Jane Doe. But again, the person signing that has to have authority to sign it. So, and I guess I'll say this: if there was a will, so if it's testate and that person is appointed in the will as the executor, I would feel more comfortable with that. So if you would list in the estate of Jane Doe, Jim Doe, executor, and then maybe even in the additional remarks of the listing agreement, this listing is contingent upon John Doe becoming appointed as executor in probate court hearing. Let your broker give you the final instructions on that. But that if they were named in a will and that they're going to have authority, and you want to get something signed, you might be able to go to a listing agreement and just cover your assets in the additional remarks. But let your broker craft that language with you.
Do you think to protect yourself, the letter of testament would be adequate to know for sure who that executor is or administrator?
Yeah, I guess I've always I'm a pretty trusting person. I do ask them to bring it. So if you remember, and when I close up the conversation, we talked about it in Mastery, I always ask them to bring that stuff to the appointment. And for me, it's a trial close. I'll say, listen, what we do, we'll go ahead and make a PDF and get that over to our attorney. So when we get the contract, they'll be able to close the chain of title, and we won't have to backtrack. Does that make sense? Okay, perfect. That does two things for me. One, it's a trial close. If they don't like flinch, then I know I'm already their realtor. Two, it tells me they've done their homework and they have the authority to sell the home and they're willing to show me that. So that's typically how I'll close up the very end of my conversation to kind of insulate myself against competition and show them that I know what they're going through and I know what documents they need, and I'm already being proactive because that's going to be at my attorney's office waiting for the purchase agreement.
All right, thank you so much. I don't mean to cut you off. It's been a long call. I really am impressed with 2/3 of the people are still on it. Thank you, everybody, for staying to the end. We're going to talk about the win of the week, and I'm going to go out on a limb and predict that the winner's name starts with an S, because it's either going to be Sarah or Sam. those were our two candidates, and I want to wrap like I always do by thanking everybody. Tremendous participation today, and thank everybody who participated. Thank everybody who came and stayed to the end. And like I always do, I want to challenge you all. There were some great stories, great ideas, great thoughts on today's call. Take one thing that inspired you on the call today. Go out and put it into practice and come back and share it with the group next Thursday. And before we sign off, let me remind you, next Wednesday we are not going to do our regularly scheduled probate role play call because it is the 4th. It is the 4th of July. It will be the same time on July 11th. So please, guys, have a great 4th of July. Come join us next Thursday and make it a great week. Thanks so much for being here. Take care.